everyone. I'm Preeti Ars, the Literary Festival Director for the Indo-American Arts Council, a not-for-profit located in New York City. Welcome to the 2022 edition of our Literary Festival. IAAC is dedicated to celebrating and showcasing the arts in North America. The Literary Festival is in its 8th edition and showcases writers who bring stories of the Indian experience to the world. The festival runs from November 7th through the 13th, with virtual sessions taking place November 7th through the 11th, and in-person events on November 12th and 13th at the Kalem Galleries in New York City. The series of online events are hosted on IAAC's Facebook and YouTube channels each night from November 7th to the 11th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The full schedule with dates, times, and authors is available on our website, iaac.us. We hope that you enjoy hearing from these authors, and thank you again for your interest and support.
Good evening. I'm Suman Golamuri, Executive Director for the Indo-American Arts Council. Thank you for joining us this evening and welcome to the annual IAAC Literature Festival. Now in its 8th edition, the festival brings to you a fabulous lineup of award-winning and emerging voices in literature influenced by and from India. Joining us this evening is Rukmini Vijayakumar, an esteemed dancer and choreographer who performed at the 2021 Erasing Borders Dance Festival that was presented by IAAC. She is described by the New York Times dance critic Alistair Macaulay as having burning eyes that repeatedly catch the observer's breath, and she makes these eyes a fabric of the dance. She's not just engaging but also authoritative, he says. The artistic director of Radha Kalpa Dance Company, she studied Bharatanatyam under Guru Padmini Rao, Guru Sundari Santanam, and Guru Narmada. As a graduate of the Boston Conservatory, her process of creation is both contemporary and traditional. She is also recognized for her acting roles in a number of Indian films and theatre performances. This evening, she will be discussing her book, Finding Shiva, an inner journey of the performative experience. Moderating this discussion is Vasanthi Hariprakash, an award-winning journalist, radio television personality, and media entrepreneur. In her illustrious career, Vasanthi has worked with NDTV 24/7, All India Radio, and Radio City as primetime show host and as a documentary anchor for BBC World News. We hope you enjoyed this discussion. Thank you again for joining us. And don't forget to join us at the in-person events also on November 12th and 13th at the Kalem Gallery in Chelsea, New York City, where we will have day-long sessions and also serving breakfast, lunch, and wine, with a fabulous poetry session also at the evening, at the end of the evening. We hope to see you there. All the details are up on the website, iaac.us. So please do join us and say hello when you come by.
Hello, I'm Uttara Asha Kurlawala, Senior Curator for the Erasing Borders and Dance Festivals of IAAC. Right now, I'm about to address Rukmini Vijayakumar. Rukmini, you are a dancer with presence. You move with elegant, clear lines. You have choreographed many dances, both traditional and innovative. Depth of thought, visual awareness, the sense of time, this is what I associate with you in your work. Your passion for understanding dance, its relationship to the human experience, has led you from Bharatanatyam to Bharatanatyam, from Bharatanatyam with Padma Subramaniam to modern dance, to ballet, to Alexander techniques. All of them you've studied in depth, and you've evolved your own method for teaching movement and understanding the human body as a result of these studies. Your search has taken you not only through physical practices, but through body and mind practices of Bhakti, Shaivism, modernism. And then having learned and absorbed and integrated many practices and thought structures, you chose to write a simple genre in the first person, Finding Shiva. Clearly, Finding Shiva is a personal odyssey, an ongoing consuming quest, and I cannot wait any longer to hear directly from you and from Vasanthi Hariprakash about it. So let's go.
My eyes close. I breathe. I know that I'm beginning. I forget my days, the agony intense, the joy overpowering. Everything seems ephemeral. All I have is me. You have made me a poet. I speak fluently. My articulation, impeccable. Honest, true. I design my limbs. They carry a story. Intense. I don't speak anymore. They speak themselves. You have made me a poet. A dancer who has poetry running through her dance form. Someone who is in the quest of finding Shiva. That's who I'm going to be in conversation with. Please welcome Rukmini Vijayakumar. Welcome, Rukmini.
Hello, Vasanthi.
So you and I are almost in this surreal sort of atmosphere where you as a performer, I as a storyteller, journalist, are going to share, and I'm certainly looking forward to listen to you share your experiences with all those who are going to be listening, watching us. So first of all, congratulations on this honor.
Thank you, and happy to have you here with me today.
The Indo-American Arts Council and the Literary Festival, and those who are watching us, I think namaskara to each of you. As we say in these parts of the south of India where Rukmini and I are coming to you from. Padma Subramaniam, Mallika Sarabhai, these are some of the names that come to my mind when I think of who are the artists or performers who've also written and who are authors. So you're in that league now.
Yeah, not really, but hopefully someday. Yeah.
So this let's say quest that was within you and the compelling urge to put it into a book, how did that happen? I mean, did you really mull over this process even when you were much younger, and then finally all those turned into words?
I think it came from a very simple thing. There's this festival, the Natyanjali festival, during Shivaratri, and I've been performing in those temples. So every night there, for those 4 to 5 days during Shivaratri, every temple has an all-night festival of music and dance. So I think from the age of maybe 12 or 13, I've been going to these temples and dancing in several of them. And the numbers of temples have increased over the years. I think it started with 2 or 3 temples, and then the year before the pandemic, I danced in almost 17 temples during Shivaratri. So we would go from one temple to the next, and dance the whole night and be completely broken the next day and be just as happy doing that. So during one of those travels, maybe 6-7 years ago, I saw a book that was written on Tanjavur or Chidambaram, one of the places. I can't really remember exactly, but it was a coffee table book which had photographs, but it had a very Western eye of our culture. You know, right. the things that living here we wouldn't, that seemed normal and like a part of our life. And it just stuck in my head that this is such a beautiful festival, and it's in normally now in cities, classical dance is in is like a concert art form. So we dance in these pristine theaters with lights and all of this, and the audiences that come in are also people who would come into a theater.
Right.
Here in these temples, there are literally hundreds, sometimes thousands of people, and they sit and they watch. Yes, it crosses over being a part of the ritual as well. It's in a different space altogether. But at the same time, there is gaudy lights. Sometimes the mats are slipping and somebody will hold the mat. And it's not at all a situation that I as a dancer would say, oh, this is a great performance venue, right. You know. But it's amazing because dancers come from all over the world and people sit there and they watch classical dancers.
Beautiful. I mean, the very visual is.
Yeah, and I just go there again and again every year, and I thought there's some way I wanted to document this. So it started off being a coffee table book. I had no intention of writing, and two of my friends who are photographers, actually three of my friends, it started off and it ended up being two. They came, they took photographs, and they made a documentation from their eye, from their perspective, and we put together a coffee table book which we wanted to call Discovering Devi, because they loved this piece on Devi that I kept performing everywhere. And I started writing to have just some perspectives into each piece, you know, like just some hints of the process, as a refrain from the photographs. But I started writing and writing and writing, and it became another book. So this became Finding Shiva.
Right.
And
That was Discovering Devi. Good that they are in partnership, the cosmic couple. What I find in the book is that there's a constant sambhrama that is happening between the mundane and the extraordinary. I mean, there is an experience part of it, that is the anubhava. And then there is you as a dancer who is, you know, then of course you're finishing your practice, and then you're slipping into your, let's say, your t-shirt, and you know, you're plugging into music. So this sense of finding Shiva in the midst of whatever the profession that we do is, I think, quite appealing. I'm sure a lot of people have that sort of experience, but the articulation is good, meaning that someone says that, okay, this is how we find it in dance. How can somebody else find it in their IT sector, or me in my media work? Guru Padma Subramaniam mentions in your foreword, saying that you have got this, you're lucky to have got this innate sense, you know, of the absolute. So spirituality, therefore, can you tell us a bit about what is that spiritual core inside you that is obviously giving you this gaze? And who do you credit this to? Like, I'm sure the upbringing, the environment at home, but what was it for you?
I think it's my parents, and how they, I think it's simple things, like daily things in life. It's hard to put your finger on it. And yeah, we would always attend Vedanta lectures, and they would take me to ashrams. They were always philosophy books, whatever type. And I've gone through my range of reading. I was never exclusive to just Vedanta or anything like that. I've read Buddhist philosophy and New Age, modern philosophy. Like I always used to read any type from when I was young. But I think I came full circle, and I landed back on Vedanta a few years ago, and I listened to a lot of Swami Dayananda Saraswati's talks, actually. So any marginal idea I have of that comes from him and from Vedanta. But I think more than just the talks, it's more the way my parents would force me to see things in life, I guess. Simple things like we were not allowed to comment on anyone's physicality at home. Like, it's just a no. You can't say, oh, that person's short, that person's tall, this person's fat. It's just, it's not allowed. So automatically it comes that the external doesn't matter. It's of no consequence, and you shouldn't speak about it because it doesn't matter. I don't know, there are many things like that, like simple things, like it's you have to respect anything that you get, like a gift. If someone gave you a gift, you can't say that's not what I wanted. So, and there's this strange thing called they say prasada buddhi, like what is offered you accept, right? And I realized later it's not just a gift, but anything in life that is offered, you accept, whether it's good or it's bad. You accept it and you work with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of ding, 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 like
Yes, yes, yes.
a lot of like things that are
Yeah.
repeated. I don't know how or where, but
Yeah.
I've always been inquisitive about myself, or where I'm from, why am I here, what am I doing here, why am I dancing.
Does that make you a sort of an oddity among your friend circle? Because people might think that you're too young for these. So did you get ever told by your colleagues or classmates saying that, good God, look at you, how philosophical you are?
I don't speak about it to anyone.
That was a secret. So let me flip that question therefore. How important do you think it is for a performer, particularly of a classical arts and tradition in the Indian context, whether it's the Carnatic, the Hindustani music, or performances, for an artist to be a believer? Is it possible for an artist or a dancer to not believe in God or that universal one power and still be so committed to the craft?
I don't think there is anything to believe. I don't believe in God. Like, it's not like there is a God, or the way that people perceive God as an entity, that I can't believe in, because I don't think there's someone sitting there doing anything.
Right. But you're a believer?
There's nothing to believe. In my opinion, I think
let's understand that a bit more. So when you say the Vedanta, for instance, that and the talks of your guru that you heard, so when you say there's nothing to believe, and then there is this, there is what you're listening to and what you have shared about being inspired by, how does that work?
Because I think it's more about understanding the nature of the universe, as opposed to believing in something that doesn't exist. It is, I am here, I'm present, this chair is here, this book is here, there are glasses, there's a camera, there's a window, there's a tree outside. And now this universe that we exist in, and you are here and I'm here and we're interacting. So it's, what is this universe that is present? How does this come to be, and how do we interact with one another? So in Vedanta, what, as I understand it, is that there is one entity that whatever, you can call it a consciousness, you can call it Ishvara, you can call it Shiva, you can call it Devi, call it whatever name you want.
You've called it Krishna at one point.
Yeah. So you call it anything that you want. You can call it a yellow light, blue light, it doesn't matter. But it is one all-pervasive consciousness that exists, and you can't, for me, I think it's a logical explanation. It's not something that I need to believe in. You are here, I am here, and I see you and I'm talking to you. What's there to believe or not believe?
I see. So what is the, when you started on this process and you share this across different chapters, I will come to the part where you've named the chapters, and I found that interesting, is that in different places, the experiences that you have had, and at some, is it all adding up to, therefore, one holistic thing, or how do you see it ultimately? Each of these experiences, are they disparate, or are they?
I think it's
taking you towards one thought.
I think it's a process of my life in some ways. Like, as I understood, like when I was young, we grew up in a traditional household. We listen to Krishna stories. My mom will say, "Oh, when you go to the dark, you say Ramaskandam Hanumantam, and then nothing will happen to you." Right. So I would walk into the dark basement. When we lived in the US for a little bit, so I'd walk into the dark basement and I would say Ramaskandam Hanumantam, because these are all the gods that are supposed to be strong, and Rama and Muruga, whatever, who would protect us in the dark. But I realized later that those are just representations of strength.
Sure.
The strength itself is the God. It is not that the God is a separate entity, as I understood as a child. So if we are taught to, like say when we were showering, we learn to say Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati, and you have to say thank you to all the river goddesses, the river goddesses for giving you this water. We weren't allowed to get out of bed without touching the floor and touching our eyes. So it's like you're stepping on Mother Earth, you have to touch the floor and touch your eyes before you step. Then I was older, but I'm on the 3rd floor. That's at the bottom. You know, it was just symbolic in the idea that you see this consciousness pervading, and from that there's this respect and reverence as well as humility that you have with anything. It doesn't matter if it's a cup or a torn paper or anything, you know. And I started understanding more recently that Saraswati is not going to sit there and let me pass my math exam, but the knowledge itself that I have received so far is Saraswati. So she is not separate from.
Rukmini, one part of this is the child who has been given these samskaras at home, whether in the forms of shlokas, whether in the form of thoughts and beliefs that this is Mother Earth, and when you're stepping there. So there is one who's accepting the prasada, as you shared with us, and then there is that person who's curious, who's inquisitive, who's questioning, who's constantly engaging with these thoughts and saying, okay, but I thought that's Saraswati, but this is my interpretation. So in this process, and then parallelly you are building your body of work as a dancer. What I will now ask you is the concerns that you have raised in the book. To me, one of the things that struck was on the questioning line I'm saying, where you said in the temple of Chidambaram, you say that, but why can't dancers just be, or you know, there are these pillars, and you know, in the proscenium, like you know, without expecting a certain space or a spatial concept like an auditorium, why can't we just be, so that there is the merger, there's no barrier between the rasa giving artist and the rasika there, isn't it? So that was one of the first things that comes. So what are the things that bother you as an artist?
With respect to?
Like how you now spoke about this thing, this rule, right? That okay, there is this stage, there is this mantapa, this is where the dancer performs. And then you chose to, wherever the temples that you have gone to, whether it's Chidambaram or Mayiladurai. So there are these places where you are adopting that space and then you are performing there, right? So in terms of the given traditional framework of Indian classical dances, what are those things that concern you, that bother you, that you have tried to break away from?
I don't, to be honest, I question, like in terms of, it has nothing to do with the form as such, because my book doesn't really speak about the form. There's something about how I approach the dance itself.
Yeah, this is not just about the book, but I'm asking you your concerns as an artist.
In overall.
Yes.
I think overall, I think the only thing that, I don't think I try to break away voluntarily. Breaking away is not something that I actually want to do. Okay. It's something that may happen sometimes because I'm trying to find an answer to something. So, like say for example, there's a structure of a varnam that's given sometimes, and I found it very hard initially to choreograph within the varnam structure because I couldn't find the logic of these jatis popping up in between. Because I kept thinking this thigh is broken, like the underlying emotive context is completely falling apart every time I come and do talang with akadiku and start dancing a jati. And I wanted to work with a structure. I wanted to make varnams. So I've made more varnams than anything else, actually. So I kept trying to make a varnam and see how I can make it work. How I can make it work. How can I bring that emotive continuity while keeping the structure, keeping the aridhi, keeping the swaras where they need to be. And through that process, maybe it looks like it's broken away from the structure. but it's a genuine attempt to keep to the traditional form.
So Radha Kalpa as a as a method, what was your thought there that you're trying to develop?
Radha Kalpa method is also, it's my pedagogical system more than anything else. And when I was young and I was trying to study, there were many things that were not offered to me at that time. And I didn't know about alignment, musculature, technique. I was expected to be in an Aramandi, but how do I keep it? How do I stay so long? I was supposed to stretch my leg and point my toes up. What muscles do I engage? How do I warm my body up? How do I stay injury free? So all these things, I kept trying to find answers to myself, for myself. And the Radha Kalpa method happened. Same with emotive things. So even with Abhinaya, we were taught primarily gesturally. So we would sit and we would learn Abhinaya. And it's a common practice that people do in Bharatanatyam now also. But when I started doing it and started finding or creating my Abhinaya pieces, as well as when I was reading and studying the Natyastra, the body gesture becomes such a big part. So sitting doesn't work for me as much. So I always work with subtext first, and then I see where the body moves, and then the gesture comes at the end.
Okay.
So the gesture becomes an extension of the need of what you're trying to say, as opposed to learning outward inwards. So we would learn aesthetic and your physicality first, and it works very well when you're teaching children, because they learn to keep their elbows up and the hands and their eyes and all that. But I think eventually it needs to reverse, and then the aesthetic kind of flows in.
So that being part of the, let's say, making the choice to go to the Boston Conservatory, how much did that sort of give you a sort of distance from India, in sense of you were right in it, you were soaked in the, as we would say in Hindi, the mahal of Natya Nritya, and then you went there, you learned new things. So did that also help you as, and to what extent?
It helped me a lot with respect to understanding my body, one. I think the training itself was rigorous, so I rethought how I saw a movement. I think how I see space choreographically, how I approach music, I think sometimes. And one of the greatest things, and one of the teachers who influenced me the most was my teacher who taught me improvisation as a technique. Is Olivier Lasson. So I think I began to dance because of him. It just opened my world of performance in a way that I hadn't. So there's so many people, and I mean, I can't name one teacher because there were so many teachers who helped me at school, and yeah, it definitely changed the way I see movement and performance at large. But my Bharatanatyam vocabulary, in some ways, rather than becoming something that it solidified even more. I became more aware of my lines, cleaner with my karanas. I could find mistakes with, easier, more rooted with my rhythm. It did the opposite as what people would imagine it to do, which is water down my vocabulary.
You spoke about having, some gurus. When you see the artscape now in India, whether it's your own dance form or something else, so who are the people who inspire you, who you watch and you would like to imbibe something? Who are those artists, Rukmini?
I think there are so many artists that I absolutely love. Definitely Padwaka. She's my teacher's teacher, also my teacher now.
And what a fantastic body of work she has, and the the research part of it, her
Yeah.
contribution to, yeah.
So I love, I think it's not just her work. I also love how she is as a person.
I see.
And I like Gayatri Akka also. I mean, she's from the same school. It's Priya Akka, Priyadashini Govind. She was, I used to watch her when I was young and be completely in awe.
I see.
I like, I used to watch Malavika Akka also. These are all the people I used to watch. Like I vividly remember watching when I was 9 and 10 and being like, and I think and I remember the moments also. I think there was something that I watched Malavika Akka do something. I don't know. It's something very simple, and it was so. It brought such a sense of quiet. I love some modern companies. I think I absolutely love NDT, and especially some of their older choreographers. And I love one of Taylor's older works. So there are a lot of.
So are you the kind, Rukmini, to when you are describing how it has been in Finding Shiva, and you're also, like in that quest, as I mentioned, there are some things, for instance, it related to me particularly, when you said that, why is it that a woman, I mean, why is it that the male lord is always being placated, right? So that is a question that can enter any young person, particularly girls, women, saying that, can it not be the other way around? Ki Kanha, in fact, is, I mean, there are enough things of even Kanha wooing the Gopikas, but by and large, we all know the sort of the patterns that some of these things follow. So, what is the, when you are observing artists who you have been inspired by, you have this that is coming from a 5,000-year-old tradition, the Natya Shastras, and then there is your own interpretation of the work. How do you even make sense of this as to what part of it will it show in your dance? How much of those influences are visible in your work?
I think when I watch someone, I never take content. I only watch for what I like, and I watch from like a technical perspective of what worked choreographically, or I watch and I just enjoy the show. I think content
must also be a process, maybe, because sometimes even without your knowledge, I mean, if I'm liking somebody, then sometimes
things come in. If they come in organically, I think that's fine. But I don't consciously say, I like that, I'm going to take this from that. It's never happened. I never do it because I think that it gets in the way of my creative. Like it messes with what I want to do. I don't even like to think myself in a movement. It's like the worst thing. I think I'm inspired by how people perceive space, how they interpret an idea. And nowadays, I'm not being like, it's not a frivolous thing. Like even things online, like with Instagram or YouTube, there's so many younger dancers that like make amazing things. For me, I'm inspired by anything. Like I can watch ants for a long time and like be inspired by them. It's just I can't say that this particular thing has come, but I know for sure that I have a lot from my teachers. Like the way I move, I know that it's come from Narmada Auntie and Sundari Akka. Like that I know for sure. Like the way I as well as Padhu Akka, obviously. So that I can't.
So these are the imprints.
I can't take away because they're my teachers. I'm going to move something that the way they've taught me.
I'm going to invite you now to read something for us. Sure. It would be lovely to have you read your favorite passage or poetry.
So I'm going to read this. It's a bit of a long one. My fingers winding, circling my body, eyes follow, lost in a hypnotic trance. the tips of which touch and open as water droplets trickle down my elbow. In a moment, they disappear into the expanse of the blue sky, the billowing clouds, and again, I'm in a web of circling droplets. Every exhalation brings closer to me my inner being swaddled in love, distant, engrossed, detached, passionate, like sliding windows that exist all at once. In dance, I am the master, the power within. I exude precision, tranquil rage, composed laughter. The movement stops to create a sycophant, rendered powerless by the perceptible, the palpable. In imagination, I am a queen, harnessing a cold detachment, measured emotion. The music ends to command me once again. A puppet, no strings attached.
Beautiful. One of the recurring themes that I notice, and sometimes we say in literature, that even the writer may not have intentioned it, but the reader perceives. I see this freedom or something that is your yearning in a sense to when you are coming out of the Chidambaram temple and the Dikshitar there is saying that you cannot probably have your earphones, and then you're not saying that okay, and then you're putting it into your bag, but you're saying, but why? I mean, isn't this whole place Shiva? Yeah. Chidambaram. And then then he explains to you that, well, these are the rules. So there are speakers, yeah. Yes. So these are some of the things that there are people who might misuse and all that. So along the chapters that I sense that as a dancer who is committed to her path and work, and as somebody who has to probably, who has her own responsibilities, like each one has to be a wife or to be the daughter or the disciple. So there are these things that you are constantly, engaging with. So while now you are in a phase where probably 10 years back, you may have had some thought, Rukmini, and now as you proceed, what is it that people who are watching you, people who follow dance and the arts form of India, what's it looking like, that journey ahead? Because you've clearly invested a lot of thought, and we are getting to read that. So have you, the title interestingly is called Finding Shiva. Yeah. You've not found Shiva. So
not yet. Yeah, I think there are two things. I think one is me as an artist and like my career as a performer. And the second thing is me as a human being, as a person. So I think that, yes, definitely as an artist, obviously I would have grown since I work a lot, like 10 hours a day, and I practice a lot. So if I didn't get better, that would just be sad. So I have grown. I know that. I can see that I have more skill. I can hold rhythm better. I create faster. I can articulate. I mean, everything listens, and I can command space in a way that I know that I couldn't before. And I know that it's only one step there. I also know that I'll progress until my body listens, and then I'll know in my head what to do, but my body's not going to listen anymore. That's the sad thing of a dancer, and that's okay. But it's yeah. So I think as a dancer, as a performer, I'm working hard, and I'm growing every day. So obviously that should get better. The second thing is, I think as a person is something that we don't really think of very often. And I think I've been making a genuine effort to be a better person over the last, especially the last 4 years, I want to say, 3-4 years. And I think that dance has helped me because, like, even in the poem, that's what I say, like, because in dance, I can control my emotions. I'm there, I'm present, I'm Devi, I'm Shiva, I'm torn, I'm upset, and the music ends and I'm done, and then we move on. And then I come in again and again I'm something else, you know. So I'm trying to be like that in life. So
A quick word as we start winding down this conversation is about the process of writing itself. I mean, after all, it's a literary festival, and how do you snatch time after your dance, or even between the breaks, or in your travel? You're probably using your iPad or a device. So how is this writing happening?
the poems in the book have been written over many years. I usually write like when I'm completely zoned out, actually. So it can be on the flight, I'm really sleepy. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have something, and I would write late at night, early morning, like anytime.
When you say write, you type in, or you physically write?
I would physically write sometimes. So some of the older poems are, so the years are written in the poems. So it's, so some of them I've written when I'm like 18, 19, 20. So you must be able to make out from the writing as well. So it's, so the poems are over the course of many years, and sometimes I would write in a book, and then obviously with the poem. And more recently, I would just type on my phone.
Okay. You're someone who also journals daily?
Not really. I just journal my workouts.
I see.
Nothing else, just to make sure if I'm progressing physically. But the writing, I write anything that I find creative. Like suppose I'm thinking about my dance thing, and I see spatially this is what I want to do, or I have this idea or something, I'll keep writing. So I have a lot of random notes that people should never see. So that's how the poems were done. But the book itself, I think I started writing just before the pandemic hit. And I'm an early riser, so I would wake up at 4 a.m. and shower in cold water, and I would write. Okay. So I would devote the first 2-3 hours in the day to write, because my mind needs to be fresh. Because after dancing, I'm really physically tired. So I can dance more, but I can't think straight. So it's poems are all done when I'm tired, and the writing itself I would do early.
Ah, okay. That's really interesting. I'm going to actually find one part which is, very relevant for today's generation. And it's something which you have mentioned. And I think it's in a chapter, I suppose, which is called Naked All Along. Let's just find. Yes. So this is on page number 42. We walk around the temple and see Namah Shivaya written on temple walls in Tamil script all around. And without my knowledge, I repeat Om Namah Shivaya, a chant that offers mental quietude several times in my mind. We sit in silence and our legs dangle off the edge of the stone terrace that surrounds the temple. Now, this is the question I wanted to ask you. Life must have been simpler in the past, slower and more thoughtful, without the rush and anxiety of success controlling every action. Modern technology has accelerated every interaction, and people expect speedy responses to every query nowadays. So even artists who we think are in a time warp, the limbs are moving. When I see, I saw even Guru Vaijayanti Malabali. I was anchoring that program at Bangalore's Chowdaya, and close to 90 years of age, then the grace and this thing, it just seemed like she's in some sort of a time machine. No? She walked in brisk with poise, and then all the other, it's just beautiful. Now, the anxiety of success, is that something that is, I mean, clearly if it's come in words, then that's there within you. How do you deal with that?
Actually, I don't have it. I'm not anxious about being successful at all. I can drop everything and leave in a minute.
So when you spoke of this in the book, Were you speaking of something that you have already conquered, or was it something that is acknowledging that this is there?
It's more about, I think, the fact that it exists in the world around me and I see it constantly. And I think that maybe when I was younger, I could have fallen into that anxiety of being successful.
So one of the things that artists also deal with is the constant social media, videos that go viral, and then you create something, and then it's hard not to be, linked to what's happened with that video. So what's your tip, or what's your suggestion? How do you, because you create a lot of videos which are watched. So is there no I mean, it may not be anxiety, but what you mentioned in the thing of what is happening with those, with those creations that you
Honestly, I don't care, because I know the purpose of what it serves, right? I'm a dancer. Fortunately, unfortunately, that's what I do. That's my job. And thankfully, I like doing it and I enjoy dancing. So it is what it is. And if I need to get myself out there and make people, by making videos for social media or by putting some of my work out there in digital content, people are coming to my shows. And do the work on social media, they're 1.5 minutes. You don't get anything out of it. You can't make out.
But probably it's also a very valid and legit means of letting people know, the younger generation.
Correct. They know. So it's not, I acknowledge the benefit it has. I also learn a lot from social media. There are a lot of physiotherapists, a lot of people with a lot of knowledge that put things out there that I learn from. So I like to put things out that people would potentially learn from, which is one aspect of it. The second aspect is that I would like people to begin to appreciate my art form. People who perhaps would not watch Bharatanatyam otherwise, I want them to watch it and say, hey, oh my God, this is Bharatanatyam and I can watch a show. So for me, social media serves that purpose. If 5 people don't like a video, what difference does it make to my life? Am I going to stop being a Bharatanatyam dancer? It doesn't make any difference to me. So I don't think I care. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Yeah. So this attitude is a good one to probably cultivate, even for the younger professionals who are coming in, because this thing of validation, seeking validation is kind of, and one is not blaming anybody for that, but it's just the course of how things are. And therefore, to balance a career in a path that you've chosen, whether it's this or as a public speaker or as a commentator, unfortunately gets into that, that dimension these days.
So I'll be very honest. I'll give you an example with this. There's some work that is deeply meaningful to me, right? That I've worked a lot on. I know if I put that work on social media, nobody's going to watch it. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But is that work less valuable to me because people on social media don't watch it?
So you're saying that you wouldn't put that work?
Not I wouldn't put. Even if I put clips, it's not the kind of work that is that 1.5 cool looking. How does it even, it doesn't connect. I know the type of things that people will watch. If I'm doing, in some places it'll overlap. I'm doing a production on the goddess on the 7th. I know the things where I come together as Kali, or all the dancers are dancing together, or the rhythmic portions. People like to watch it on social media. That's fine. No problem. If I put that 15-minute, actually the work is 25 minutes. Each piece is around 25 minutes. If I put the entire 25-minute work on YouTube, trust me, hardly any people are going to watch it. And that's okay. It doesn't matter to me. I know that it serves a purpose, and no problem. I will use that to benefit others and to benefit my art form.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's been a good understanding of an artist's journey. And I think some of us who are big believers in the literary world than let's say the virtual experience, I think it's good that someone like you has spoken in detail about this, and it's been a pleasure for me to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much, Rukmini.
Thank you, Vasanthi. Thank you so much.
As the Literary Festival Director for IAAC, I would like to thank you for joining our award-winning authors. IAAC is a not-for-profit, a 501c not-for-profit located in New York City. The program that you just watched was made possible by the generous donation of viewers like yourself. Your donation enables us to support artists and sustain programs that you enjoy. Please visit our website, iaac.us, to make a donation, and here you will also find information on your membership benefits. On behalf of the board and team at IAAC, I would like to thank you for your support and look forward to seeing you at our next event.